Hello, podcast listeners. We know podcasts are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But you know, KSJE is now listener-supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast. This program is supported by San Juan Health Partners Urology, providing a wide range of personalized services for the whole family, including children. Our caring professionals are dedicated to helping meet your urology health needs with skill, experience, and service you need. For a complete listing of our services and to learn more, visit sanjuanhealthpartners.com or call 505-609-6300. San Juan Health Partners Urology, a division of San Juan Regional Medical Center. Well, now let me turn to my guest who is here with me this morning from the Bloomfield School District, Superintendent Dr. Kim Mizell. Dr. Mizell, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can't remember what day it is, but I'm doing okay.
Well, that's good.
It's one of those weeks, right?
That's right.
They are flying by fast and furious, but it's great to see you and have you here as we talk about what's going on in the Bloomfield School District. I know you've made a few trips to Santa Fe with the legislative session, and you're watching some of the bills that are being debated and moving through committee.
Yes, we are. I was just down there last week and with the School Boards Association, so the school board members attend and get training hours in, and we're watching the pre-K bill and also just the general funding of how they're going to allocate the funds this year. They're kind of adjusting our at-risk factors and looking at the unit value and how, we're right now they send us projections and we run the numbers and we report back and say whether that will cover the mandates, which the going to $10 an hour per employee, the 6% raise for all employees, and then the salary increases of $41, $50, and $60. And right now, what they sent us does not cover those mandates, so we're a little bit nervous.
Right.
So we're hoping that as we go back and forth with communication to the State Department, those adjustments will be made. And it has pretty much to do with the at-risk value that they're applying to districts or they're looking at. They've changed our process recently, and so it's. I think they're just trying to figure out how it's going to work into the funding formula.
I see. And this is affecting Bloomfield schools, but other districts too, I would assume,
yes,
right?
Well,
You're doing the same numbers as other districts
right.
are.
While I was there, Santa Fe and Los Alamos also reported that it was falling short of meeting the mandates.
Got you. And it seems to me, unfortunately, that this is not maybe a new thing with government. When they give you a mandate, you don't always get the money to fulfill that mandate. Is that happen often?
It happens more often than not sometimes. We're hopeful this year that they'll make the adjustment. There's a lot of moving parts right now with everything that's going on at the state level as far as funding, and then also the evaluation system. They're getting rid of the grading system.
Right.
And
right.
so we are hopefully, in fact, today we're meeting with the Secretary of Education. They're doing regional meetings, and they're rewriting our Every Student Succeeds Act, that is our federal application, so that they can make the changes that they would like, because everything's tied to that application and federal dollars. So you have to amend your application, and that has to go in, I believe, March 1st. So that's this Friday. So they're under the wire to try to get everything done.
Interesting. And of course, we always hear about there's more money available for public education. There's a lot of focus on public education at the session this year, and all that sounds good on the surface, but when you dig a little deeper, you find some of these issues that the money that's being allocated may not pay for all these grandiose ideas, I suppose, or salary increases to bring people up a little bit,
right.
Which is great intentions.
The intention is wonderful. It's just how it actually plays out and actually what allocations we get. So we have a lot of anxiety at this time of year because we're running the numbers, and in Bloomfield in particular, we're down students, about 250 students. So that impacts impacts us significantly. So we're also looking at our staffing and looking at school numbers and how many students are in the classrooms. We start delving into it quite heavily. In fact, we'll have our cabinet meeting Thursday to look at every school and kind of get an idea of what some of the decisions we're going to have to make.
Sure.
And so, especially if that funding doesn't come through, we'll be looking seriously at some. I would just say we have like 21 openings right now that we haven't filled. We're going to look at those openings and say, do we absolutely have to have those positions? And make some decisions there, and then we'll move on through the schools. So
right, that makes a lot of sense. But of course, I know your finance people. I don't know how they do it every year, but they get this the budget that comes out of even a 30-day session. Then they have a quick turnaround. This is a 60-day session, so you'll get numbers maybe by the time the governor signs everything. We're looking maybe mid-April.
Yes,
so.
And then our budget is due in May.
In May.
Yeah, I mean it's a quick turnaround.
It is a quick
right
turnaround.
now we have probably. My finance director is Jody Maestas. She has about 4 different spreadsheets, and she
option A, B, C, and D,
exactly.
depending on what they come up with.
That's what we do, and we just keep running the numbers to see as we get the information. It gets communicated to us through our executive director of the Superintendents Association. He shares out and we'll run the numbers and give him feedback, and he goes and lobbies for and expressing our concerns, for example. So. It's an interesting process, I would say, and
it is.
I went and visited our representatives and talked to as many as I could while I was down there, and appreciate their support and try to encourage them to vote against or for certain things. So they seem to be aligned with my thinking, so I felt good about my visits. So
good.
We'll see.
All right. We'll have to see, right? But
right.
But again, the idea to increase the minimum wage for workers in our state, to increase teacher salaries for those level 1, 2, and 3 teachers, I think everybody seems to agree that these are positive things, especially for the profession of teaching, where we've seen a lot of shortages, a lot of districts having trouble recruiting teachers and things like that. So that's all good. It's just getting the money to pay for it all.
Exactly. We want, obviously, we feel teachers deserve everything that they're going to get. However, the projections are within a 3-year period, you get up to $45,000 per year. But when we actually receive the projections from the state, it doesn't cover us getting there in 3 years. So we're concerned.
Right. And of course, all this with the lawsuit looming over the state and the legislature, which was put forward by a judge to discuss. I think special education was the primary focus of that issue with
Native
funding.
Native American students and Hispanic students,
minority,
any at-risk population.
I see, of which Bloomfield has a significant number.
Yes, we do. We are one third, basically, is our demographic breakdown, Native American, Anglo, and Hispanic.
Okay.
And so, we are very concerned about that. We want to make sure that we're doing the right things for our students always. And one of the bills it's actually in the Senate right now, I believe it's Senate Bill 171, has to do with districts like Bloomfield, CCSD, Gallup, McKinley, Zuni. We apply for impact aid funds. We do the entire application, which is quite lengthy. However, with the amount of money we get from the federal government, the state takes 75% of that. So we only get 25% of the dollars. And I've always felt that impact aid is the best way to address that lawsuit, because it really does address the Native American students that we could, if we got the funding for that, we could do more tutoring, we could do more assistance, we probably could put in the early childhood situation educational assistance and breaking up those classrooms, making the student-teacher ratio a little bit better. There's some things that we could do that could really impact and help those students coming in that maybe have language barriers. So we are really supporting that. It's still on the floor. It's supposed to be heard, I believe, this week. we're hopeful. I think there's a phase right now that 75% that the state takes, they put it into the funding formula for the entire state.
Mm-hmm.
And the proposal that's on the floor right now is that they would eventually phase that out of the funding formula, and we would actually end up getting all of our money. And for Bloomfield, that's about $4.5 million. So
that's significant.
Right.
It sounds to
me.
And
then, it's $60 million total in the state.
Wow.
And so those, like Gallup, they would get a large portion of that because there's all the tribal lands that
sure.
they educate students on.
Right. Something to watch, but that's something maybe that's being discussed, I suppose,
yes.
and an option perhaps to get more of that money into the local districts than clogging it up at the state level.
Right, and it's under consideration. So.
Gotcha. We talk about finances, and I have to bring up the mill levy vote that was held last month, or earlier this month, as a matter of fact, pardon me, beginning of February. And Bloomfield, unfortunately, along for you, and I know you feel that way, with Aztec were the two districts that the mill levy did not pass.
Right.
And you were one of the narrowest of margins. I think about a little over 70 votes was the
71.
difference. So what does that mean for the Bloomfield district? Less money?
That means we don't get $1.5 million for the next 6 years, each year, for our district to do maintenance and purchase equipment and do upgrades of things. Right now I have 4 air conditioning units that cost $60,000 each that need to be replaced, and I had hoped to get that money so that I could replace those air conditioning units. So we have some leaks in the roofs. We have a crack in our wrestling room. All of that funding would have helped pay for the repairs and maintenance of that. So it's very concerning. I learned a lesson. I really felt I was kind of a little bit hesitant about getting out, and they told us that we really couldn't campaign for it. However, after further inquiry, I found that you have to have like a special interest group pushing it for you. So I have contacted some local people to support it. And then also I'm going to do, we will be going out for another election in November. It will be not a mail-in election. I was very disappointed with the results. Our voter rosters are not accurate. So, for example, 9,000 letters were sent out for Bloomfield.
Okay.
And about 5,000 of them were not deliverable, meaning those people did not change their address in the voter registration. So there's a whole bunch of envelopes at the courthouse that were not even delivered.
Right.
And then I'm estimating, it's not an actual number, about 300 letters were mailed in on time. They were postmarked on time. However, since Bloomfield's mail goes to Albuquerque and back, did not get back in time to be counted.
Ah, interesting.
And
that's some of the issues with a mail-in ballot. Right. So the next time you put this question to your voters in the district, it'll be a regular go to the polling place vote. Got it. And certainly it's got to be a bit frustrating because I know your issue was not going to raise property taxes, but certainly they will go down if it didn't pass, and it did not pass. Right. But it wasn't going to be a tax increase, and this money, as you say, is used for technology, maintenance, repairs, and things like that. So I suppose if you have a repair you need to make, that money has to come now from somewhere else.
Right. It'll come out of our general operational funds.
And that's what pays for your teacher salaries and everything else, I suppose, correct?
Exactly.
And that's what you have to juggle.
I'm faced with some very difficult decisions.
Right, indeed. Well, let's take a short break. Dr. Mizell, she's my guest this morning from the Bloomfield School District, Superintendent of Schools, of course, and we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, more with my guest in just a moment on KSJE. The time is 8:26. This program is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, who's expanding its services to offer low-cost blood screenings all year round. Now offering walk-in convenience to get the blood tests you want when you want them. MyLabs, patient-ordered testing, is available in Farmington at the hospital's laboratory and the Outpatient Diagnostic Center on 30th Street. Also in Aztec at San Juan Health Partners Family Medicine at 120 Llanos Street. With nearly 20 tests available, there's an option for everyone. MyLabs, patient-ordered testing, a wellness service of San Juan Regional Medical Center. I'm Scott Michlin. My guest on the radio this morning is Bloomfield Superintendent Dr. Kim Mizell, who is here. Once again, good morning, and thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Always appreciate you spending some time with me to update us on the goings-on in Bloomfield schools. And the one thing I always have to ask you about, Dr. Mizell, is perfect attendance. And so far, you still have a group of students that are in the running for your perfect attendance contest, right?
Yes, we still have 21 students. So.
21. That's a good number, is it not?
It is.
So they haven't gotten hit by the flu or anything else. So stay healthy, kids, right?
We have one student that she has had perfect attendance all 4 years in high school. So
wow.
I wish I could do something special for her, but she's been in the running. She hasn't won the car yet, so I'm kind of silently rooting for her, but
okay. Well, hopefully.
She's a senior.
You're right. That would be fun. But for folks who aren't familiar with what we're talking about, you, for the past several years, have offered this kind of contest as another incentive to hopefully keep kids coming to school. Right. And there's a drawing at the end of the school year for a car. And you actually, for 2 cars, actually, this year. And it's for any of your high school students who have perfect attendance. Is that how it works?
Yes, our Charlie White Brown, our alternative high school, we have 1 student, and then we have 20 other ones at the high school. And it can be a freshman through senior person that has perfect attendance for the year. And last year the odds were really good. I had 3 cars, and I think I had 5 students. So we had the flu season really bad last year. So this year, 21 students right now is pretty good. The first year we had 26 students.
Okay.
So, I think there's some kids that are challenging themselves to get to school and be perfect. And this includes they can't have a tardy.
They got to be there on time, not late.
Okay. In class, on time. And
anyone who's familiar with teenagers know how difficult that can be.
Yeah, so it's a big commitment for the students, and I'm proud of the ones that challenge themselves to do that.
Right.
And my daughter actually this year is one of them, so I'm not going to be drawing the names.
Okay, very good. I have that independent hand going into the bowl.
Right,
good.
And our school board president's son also, so we said we're going to have someone else draw the
names. You will have to bring someone else in.
Yeah.
But for these students, too, I think it's probably it can be a life-changing event to get a car. It's a used car, but a good used car, and to get them off to either work or school or wherever they're going after they graduate from high school.
The first year we gave away a Mustang, and it was to a freshman, and I see him driving that car every day to school, and he parks it way far away from anybody else. He's very proud of that car.
Right.
And I'm happy for that young man. I'm sure, some of our families, they really don't have a lot of additional income for anything like that for their children, and they rely on the bus system or whatever. But I've noticed that he's gotten a job, and just kind of watching him from the sidelines, seeing how it's impacted his life as a young man. And the ones last year, several of them, she had been driving her parents' old, I think it was like a Ford Ranger or something, and it was like 20 years old. So she got a newer car to go to college, and so she was so excited. And another young man, he was actually going to sell his car that his parents had given him and drive the new car to go to college. So I think it's helping them get their jump start on however their lives may lead them. So I'm happy for the students to get this opportunity. We have some great partners that partner with us, and Zimes Ford Motor matches the funds that we give to a vehicle. So, for example, I publish a magazine and I sell ads, and I use part of the funds that I raise through those advertisements to purchase that vehicle. And he matches whatever we have. So if I have $5,000, we can get a car for 10.
Right.
So
it's like a 50% off coupon. That's a great deal.
Yeah, they have been tremendous in supporting us, and we appreciate that.
Very good. Well, good luck to the 21 students who are remaining in the competition. I don't want to jinx anybody, but we hope they all last till the end and get a chance to win one of those 2 cars you have to give away this year.
That's exciting.
Very, very exciting. Also exciting that I want to ask you about your sports teams not doing too badly. In fact, you have a state champion wrestler.
Yes, we do. Luke Whitley, he won state champion for the weight class of 152, and I know it's been a long journey for him. Last year he struggled in the finals, but this year he won. So we were very proud of him. And we had quite a few other boys place, like third and fifth and sixth. And, it's if you ever go to one of those wrestling tournaments, you will be shocked at the physical effort that's put out, because they have to wrestle numerous times over a 2-day period.
That's
and
right.
Just physically exhausting. And these young men are quite the athletes, and women. They've had the women's finals this year, and the girls were competing for the first time.
Very good.
So it was kind of neat to see that as well. And I'm proud of Aztec too. They won the whole thing, and they are very dominant. And we have a very tough division up here in competition. And but our boys did well, and I was pleased with the ones that were able to place and even go down there.
Yeah.
Because very few make it on that podium. So
Very
we
true.
did all right.
Well, congratulations
Thank
to your
you.
wrestlers and your basketball, your boys basketball team doing.
Yeah, they beat Mira last night, and they're playing tonight for second place. And right now, Gallup is ranked third in the state. They are very, very good, and they're in our district. So if we were, I don't think we're playing them tonight, but we're playing for second place right now. And we're hopeful. They had a rough start, but those boys have improved amazing, done amazing things this year. I really feel I went to the first game, and I was a little concerned, and because I'm a big basketball fan.
Right.
But they have just turned it on at the right time, and I'm really proud of them as well. And so we have some amazing athletes, and I'm proud of the kids.
Sure. Always nice to see over the course of a few weeks how a team can kind of
Right.
come together.
Right.
And it's all about timing, I'm told, right? And if they peak at the right time, they can do very well, maybe in the playoffs or what have you.
That's a good sign of a coach, if
Yeah,
they
right.
peak at the right time. So it's very challenging to get them to do that, but you manage them well. And we've played some very tough teams at the beginning, so that's why when I went to that first game, I went, oh my goodness, but I didn't realize that they were really difficult, highly ranked teams in the state.
Right.
And so our district play, we're doing much better. So I think that helped playing those hard teams, because the boys had to step up. And
True.
Really.
And they
make a
have.
difference. Yes, they have.
They have. That's true. So congratulations to them. And of course, it brings a little bit of Bobcat pride to the whole community when
That's
that happens.
right. We're all about our kids, and we get a lot of support from our community. And I'm already moved on to partly baseball and softball, and then track and field. So they've been doing a lot of fundraising for the program. So yeah, it's a very big thing for Bloomfield, and a lot of pride there.
Definitely is. My guest this morning, Bloomfield Schools Superintendent Dr. Kim Mizell, is here. We are talking about some of the issues affecting Bloomfield schools or going on with the Bloomfield School District, like their state champion wrestler and doing very well boys basketball team. I do want to get back to education a little bit more too, and talk about this new assessment that the state is working on to replace the PARCC test, which I think people love to hate or just hated it or what have you. They had issues with it. And there is a new test that's being developed, this new assessment that will replace the PARCC. It's out for this year. And the Public Education Department has been working on putting something new together. Are they getting some input from superintendents and districts around the state?
Well, they really don't have time for this.
I see. They're really just putting it together.
They just kind of put some. What they did is they went through a service that they contracted out with for the PARCC assessment. This company has test questions that align with our standards.
Okay.
And so what has happened is they put together a test in English language arts, math, and science, I believe, that will be shorter version of the PARCC that will be given this spring. Then from that point, they're going to, they're considering many things. And we had an opportunity to hear the Secretary of Education last week come in and speak with us. And they really are wanting input from districts, because we do have, most districts have interim assessments that we do on a quarterly basis until the final state test. And they're kind of willing to listen to us about possibly using that as a form of progress monitoring for our students, but they need to have more dialogue with us and have a better understanding. But it is already a standard-based assessment that we give, because we're trying to monitor kids as they progress and get ready for the big state test. So they're trying to make it a less of a high-stakes situation. They're also looking at the graduation requirement rules. They're looking at a lot of those rules. A lot of the rules, they passed something like, I think it was like 36 rules in about a 6-month period that we are being held to from the former administration. Well, they repealed some of those already. They're just within a school calendar. They're not realistic expectations for us.
Right.
And so they're really being very thoughtful about what they're doing, but trying to facilitate the work that we're doing in the school district. So it's a good thing.
Right. And I know
to be visited.
Right. When we talk about assessments, I mean, people love to hate testing. They feel students are tested too much, but there really isn't a better way to determine if students have learned what they're supposed to have learned in the semester or in the 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it is. And at the end of the school year too, right? It's just to test them and find out what they know.
I think the language that I'm hearing from the state right now is what's good for kids. What we have going on in our state, I don't think necessarily is good for students. Making them feel less than they are based on a test that really isn't relevant to our area, maybe. I think
that was the criticism of the park.
Yes. It is a East Coast assessment that was developed in the East. The language is not something that maybe our students are familiar with, and very challenging for our kids. And it's not that our kids can't do it. It's just that their background doesn't really mirror what they're being assessed on. And so I think the language that I'm hearing is that we're going to try to get more realistic with what we're assessing our kids about, and also be in more of a real-time scenario where we're saying this quarter they didn't master this standard and we are going to have to reteach or address it within that quarter. So a lot of times the cycle will be a 7-week cycle where we're teaching the standards. We assess those standards, and then we use 2 weeks to reteach so that they get an opportunity to master that idea or that standard. So it's a little more proactive, and also better for the kids, that they feel more successful. And so we have a lot of districts have that already in place. And so I really feel this is a great time to start those conversations and also make the adjustments that are healthy for students, that make them feel good about what they are able to do and what they can demonstrate. And this former test really didn't afford them that opportunity. It was very demeaning, I want to say, for many kids.
Right.
I had many students just say, Dr. Mizell, can you get me out of Algebra 2? I've had to take it 3 times and I can't seem to pass that. And that's a conversation that we're having with our state, that Algebra 2, is that really something that our kids know, or do they need financial literacy? Do they need other things that could help them be successful out in the real world? We feel that we need to change some of those. Every year they have to take math, English, history, science. Let's give them opportunity to learn things that are relevant to their worlds. So, for example, financial literacy would be one that would be acceptable. They've already made a change with computer science as one of the math credits that we can offer now.
I see.
And so a lot of our districts are building up their computer science programs so that they can take that instead of having to take Algebra 2, for example. And one of the challenges that we had with Algebra 2, the test, the students who are in Algebra 2 went and took the test, and we were not able to look at the test, but they said it wasn't anything that we learned, and they had some really good teachers, and it was more trigonometry than Algebra 2. So there's an alignment concern as well.
But it sounds to me like you're optimistic that at least the feedback you're getting from Santa Fe at the Public Education Department, they're willing to have some of these conversations.
Yes.
About changing some of the ways things have been done in the past.
They are. And with the evaluation systems, the licensure systems, they're looking at everything. And so these people, I don't think they've slept since they've started, because they really have to get that application in for us to move forward the changes, and it's coming up quick.
Right. And I always like to ask our superintendents, what does this mean for parents or grandparents who may be watching or listening to us this morning with all these changes to their child's education? Again, we always talk about what's best for kids, and it seems like they're keeping that in mind as they put forward some of these proposals.
That seems to be the tone right now. They kind of ran into some barriers that they couldn't get rid of Park, just flat out get rid of the concept because it was written into that federal application, Every Student Succeeds Act. And so they had to kind of put a halt on some of the things that they wanted to do because they had to amend that first. And the thing that people don't always understand is federal dollars are connected to all of that. So it comes down to the funding again, you know, and so they have to get their amended application approved for the funding to support what we're doing in our state. So it's quite extensive, but my hope is, I'm very hopeful, and the language that seems to be coming out of the State Department right now is that very teacher-friendly, student-friendly, and they really want to do the right thing for people of New Mexico and the students of New Mexico.
Who are different than students from maybe New York or Connecticut or Boston or something like that. And there's also talk about the school year and some of the hours of instruction. Is that also some of the conversations you're watching?
That one right now, it was being heard on the floor. I think it's going to be an application process. So if a district chooses to do an extended school year, they can apply for the funds to do that. They're setting aside about $60 million for that. Bloomfield already does the K3 plus 5 school year for our elementary, so we already have that in place. So
I see.
We wouldn't ask for an extended school year. And from what I can gather in the community, our family, we have beautiful summers here. And so, I think it's important that families go out and go camping and enjoy their children and take time to go out and play. And so, from what I can tell, I think our families are still about the not a full year-round schooling system.
Right.
But it works for some places, but I don't know that it's something that would be this area would want. We're very much about the outdoors and enjoying our summers and stuff. So.
Sure, and those experiences can provide great learning experiences too for young children or even high school kids.
Exactly. So
it can all be.
For right now, I don't believe Bloomfield will be applying for the extended school year.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good. Dr. Mizell, we are out of time this morning, I'm sorry to say, but I appreciate you being here and a great conversation this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep us up to date on what you hear from Santa Fe.
I will.
We'll talk to you again next month.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too. That's Dr. Kim Mizell, my guest here on KSJE, Superintendent of Schools from the Bloomfield School District. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.